Let's talk about what's going on. Let's go back a couple of weeks. Your team, Team Fury, won the purse bids. You must have been delighted with that.
Very much so. You know, Frank and Bob, they got together and they won the purse bid, the biggest purse bid in boxing history, which is props to these guys, you know. Blew them all out of the water. Nobody expected that, so it was fantastic. The tide has changed. Momentum has fallen. Done. And you know, every great dynasty has its day in the sun, and their day is over.
Wow. Those are the words of Tyson the Gypsy King Fury as he responds to the purse bid. And he looks at Eddie Hearn as once a guy that was dominating the sport of boxing. And he has his day. Now his day is over. The tide has shifted. And let me counterpunch. There is some truth to what Tyson Fury's saying, because there are promoters that came into power. And one infamous, famous promoter comes to mind for a perfect example: Don King. Don King was one of the biggest promoters of all time at one point. From the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, okay, and a part of the 2000s. Don King had a lot of guys. He had a lot of fighters. You know, he had someone at some point most of the time. He had guys like Marco Antonio Barrera wishing that he was his promoter because of a close decision that he lost to by Eric Morales back in the day. And those are one of the comments that he mentioned, that he wished he had Don King. All in America, baby. Right? So, but now you hardly hear from Don King. He has Trevor Bryan, and I don't know who else. I know he was promoting Ricardo Mayorga, but you know, when the last time have you seen him? Last time I seen Ricardo, he was in the octagon. So, you know, his time is over. You know, but other than that, you really haven't seen a lot of Don King. Bob Arum has stayed consistent, you know, but you know, in the later times, he's, you know, looked deemed to fall, but obviously he comes back. So at this point, based on what Tyson Fury said, yes, there are examples that explains certain promotional companies or promoters falling from grace, but I don't think it has happened that drastically. Okay, because if that's the case, Bob Arum lost his fighter to Triller. Okay, and Eddie Hearn outbid him. You know, now he comes back in a big major way with Frank Warren co-promoting him, Tyson Fury as well, and those guys came together and had the biggest bid in boxing history. Okay. But they have to understand they had to make that type of executive decision because Tyson Fury is like the last heavyweight undefeated champion that we have. And that's where you need to put your money in and invest your money into. Okay. And I think they did that because of desperation, because if not, what else would they have had? Okay. Because eventually Teofimo Lopez, the one that dethroned Lomachenko, right? He just lost Crawford. Frank Warren was getting beaten by Eddie Hearn over there. So they had to make a curve. They had to make a turn. You know, so I think it was one of those decisions that they had to make. I don't think that it's that drastic, but it is a huge power move by the promoters, Frank Warren and Bob Arum. But Tyson Fury claims that Eddie Hearn is over. No, not by the least. Why? Because Eddie Hearn has a great working relationship with a lot of fighters. It's not just Joshua, okay? He had Usyk. He had Gennady Golovkin. He was working with Canelo at one point. He still will work with Canelo more than likely. It's not set in stone, but those guys have a great working relationship, and Eddie Hearn knows where the money goes. He knows where the money flows. He knows who to put time in, who to invest in due to numbers. So he knows his job, and I think he loves his job. So he's a young guy. And at the end of the day, these promoters, they have longevity, no doubt. Frank Warren, especially Bob Arum, but Don King as well, because he's still around waving those flags with the fantastic hair. But at the end of the day, Eddie Hearn is the new kid on the block, and he's making huge power moves, and I don't think he's out of the picture yet. So I would have to counter Tyson Fury with that particular statement. You guys tell me what you think about Tyson Fury's comment about the purse bid won by Team Fury and Warren and Arum. Of course, please subscribe, and you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.